Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. And as you guys know, I'm back to my home studio in Los Angeles, California, learning of some stories that I may have missed over the last week. A Paradise Beef continues. We've got Andrew Spencer and Casey going at it. Andrew says, I'm exhausted about being disrespected. This seemingly following the episode that Casey did on Bachelor Happy Hour. So I'm going to share his response. Andrew left a sort of this is how it works, right? You get so pissed off, you fire something off on Instagram, and then like people don't quite understand what you're talking about, so then you make an Instagram video. So he did a little bit of both. We'll discuss it, and follow me on Instagram at DNeals. The best part about flying back from my Mexican wedding is that I'm completely jet lagged still, so I'm waking up at 5 a.m. cranking out content for you guys. Patreon.com/Dave Neal. Every day on Patreon, I do some sort of like work with Dave private live stream. Well, today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Today I'm going to share with the Patreon the full wedding ceremony from this past Saturday, and I'm going to release that at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time as a live release, which means you'll be able to comment in the chat room if you guys want to watch that with the other folks from the Patreon. So here's your quick intro right there. You can see my beautiful bride walking down the aisle. So yes, I will be pimping this out for the last time, so you can go check that out, patreon.com/Dave Neal, and you can see your boy possibly cry. Will he cry? We'll have to see. All right, back to this video. Does Casey regret telling Brittany what Peter was saying about her? So it's a messy spill here. Brittany essentially, Peter was talking some smack, as the kids say, about Brittany, and then Andrew decided not to kill the mood by telling her. So when Casey told her, Andrew's like, come on, man. Do I have that right? Come on, man. Let's hear what Casey has to say. Then we'll have Andrew's response.
I heard Brittany's story firsthand. The fact that she was slandered before, I think she absolutely deserves a right to defend herself. And by the way, she had the full right to not confront him. If she felt like, you know what, he's going home anyway, I don't want to make a bigger deal of it, that was 100% her choice.
So the question becomes, if someone talks trash about your friend, are you morally obligated to tell your friend, or do you let them kind of not worry about that? I know personally, when it comes to the YouTube community, I'd prefer not to have information that someone's talking trash about me unless it's like ongoing. If someone's just like, oh, Dave sucks, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know. But if someone has some lies that need to be corrected, then I guess that could be a conversation that needs to be had.
I think that I would have had a whole separate issue if I had either done like white knighting and been like, I'm the one who's going to be the one defending you, and did it like, she has the right to make decisions on her behalf. I think it was 100% her right to know what was being said about her. Just like I think everybody else wants to know if someone is putting nasty things about me out in the world and speaking on my name. I want to know. I think everyone feels that way.
I want to know what love is. I want to know what love is. He's got a good point there. Now, the question about white knighting would be, was Casey telling Brittany in some way to try to get a rose or stay on the show? And that's kind of where the white knighting begins. And the white knighting is the one thing that keeps drama going on in the season. White knighting being taking some sort of moral superior high ground to warn somebody else of someone else's bad doings there.
Also 100% knew that I was not getting a rose from Brittany. And that's where it gets a little tricky, because the night when I heard that from Peter, I immediately went to go tell Brittany so she could deal with it. And she was making out with Andrew. So I'm like, there wasn't a lot of like daylight in terms of what was going on. Brittany was very open about being interested in Andrew, and at that point, vice versa. So like, that's unfortunate, but there's a lot of interesting stuff that I saw back when I watched it. For instance, when I got down to the beach, I was approached by a mob of a few people led by Andrew Spencer, who cursed me out, like straight up cursed me out. And
wait, after you had talked to Brittany, you mean?
For
simply telling her?
By the way, don't you love it that like the ladies are real quiet, whatever, and then all of a sudden Michelle's like, what? What happened? So an angry mob. Did they have pitchforks where they go get Casey?
100%.
Let's go back.
Straight up cursed me out. And
wait, after you had talked to Brittany, you mean?
For
simply telling her?
100%. I got down to the beach and it was like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Now, if this is true, Casey has a right to tell Brittany anything. Andrew doesn't have the right to curse Casey out. I mean, he could. I guess he has the right to, but it doesn't look good on Andrew to curse Casey out if Casey's just telling someone else the truth of what happened. But of course, people are mad at Andrew for not doing what Casey did, which is warn Brittany. And Andrew's response is, hey, I'm just trying to have a good time. I'm not trying to bring the mood down with her. She didn't need to know.
You just want to start drama, da-da-da-da. And I was like, no. And then I tried to defend myself. And literally Andrew says to me, I don't want to hear a single thing out of your mouth. And then there were a couple people with him, one of which has apologized to me about the whole circumstance and was just kind of like, hey, I got caught up in the moment. I can understand people being mad that there was drama. At the same time, like, I do think it was her right to know. And again, Absolutely. It was her decision to do whatever she was going to do with that information.
All right. He says he thinks it was her right to know. Andrew responds, two different clips here. Teddy and I were not talking. We had expressed interest early on. Then we were asked on every podcast. You don't know shit, STFU, done hearing about this. I personally don't know how the Teddy part has anything to do with it, but then again, I am not caught up. And then he says, I'm just so exhausted of being disrespected when I have done nothing but keep my head down and bring positivity. Too many people take my kindness for weakness. Now, what we have here is Andrew with a video response, and at the very end, shares some of the mean comments that he's received. And this is what kills me. We'll get to it at the end of this video. When people leave mean comments on your Instagram, especially when it's not what that photo had to do with. This doesn't happen to me so much. It's just like I'll post a photo with like me and my wife or me and my family, and someone will leave a comment being like, did you know so-and-so did so-and-so on a podcast? And it's like, that has nothing to do with this photo. Leave that somewhere else,
prepped on ignoring the noise and focus on the things that matter. And at that moment, my relationship was top priority. That's the only thing that mattered. The little drama stunt that, Casey admitted to was, just to get a last ditch effort, get a rose. So it didn't matter to me. And the fact of being called a clout chaser when, you get on this app and people call you a lot worse. So it wasn't really a big deal to me. He didn't verbally threaten her or put his hands on her. So she could 1,000% handle that. And, we had a talk, and she said that, she didn't get a chance to defend herself on her last season. So this is something she wanted to do, and I respect.
Okay, so Casey says he told Brittany. Now, hold on. I'm losing my IQ just thinking about this. Casey says he told Brittany about the trash talking that was happening because Brittany had been slandered on a previous season, and he wanted her to know, so she could defend herself. Andrew says, I didn't want to interfere with what was said about Brittany because she can fight her own fights because of what happened last season. The truth is probably squarely in the middle of these two. They're just seeing it from different angles.
Respect that. So for me, if I had to go and talk to this girl and tell him to apologize to her or, forcing him to leave when he was going to leave in an hour, it doesn't make any sense, because now if he gets disrespectful with me and says something slick, we're boxing. That's just, I'm not representing only myself, I'm representing my family.
Okay, now here's where we have a jump of conclusions here, where Andrew says, basically he's saying, the reason I didn't confront Peter is because he was about to leave anyway, and if I had confronted him, we would have ended up fighting. Now, I don't know, and then he says, I didn't want to fight because then it'll look bad on the community and the high school team I coach and this and that. How about you could just talk to Peter and not fight? It's totally, you can absolutely talk to someone and not fight. I do that every day. I go to drop my mail off. I go to a Starbucks. There's no fighting. We don't fight. We just talk as humans do. But I understand the point that he didn't want to escalate any extra drama.
City black man, and I'm a role model to a bunch of kids that I coach and at school that I work at, and I have nieces and nephews. So I don't like to get into conflict on a television show because that could reflect badly on them. With that being said, I definitely talk to you by myself, and I just expressed how earlier that day you had pulled me aside about Brittany and told her, watch out, she might do the same way she did me, how she used me for my rose, and she likes the popular guys like Michael A. before and Aaron and now me, so I should be weary.
Interesting. So A lot to parse through here. So they essentially are just. I kind of feel like Andrew and Casey are both sharing information that suits their needs, and in the end, it's really not that big of a story. It's just not that big of a story here. But it is always interesting when the story continues past Paradise and takes its way onto Instagram as we get the he said, she said, and all of that. Now, as far as what Andrew says he has to deal with, his grandmother just passed away, and he made a tribute to her, and it said people, and then in the tribute that he made to his grandmother who just passed away, he posted, "People leave comments like this on a tribute to your grandma. Sorry if I don't give a F about being called a clout chaser." And this comment was by Art by Mercedes. "You're one of the worst types of guys, a coward. Your hand is just as much covered with blood when you defend these misogynists and you don't let the women get the info on what they're being called behind their backs. You hate women so much because you're gay, so just come out and leave women alone." Yikes. Are these real humans in these comment sections? I mean, this is just insanity, right? That's just really, really disgusting stuff. So in the end, I think it's best to give grace to the people involved, be it Brittany, Casey, and of course, Andrew here. I don't know what decision I would make if I was dating someone and there was trash being said about that person on the show, because Andrew's right. If he calls it out, he's playing into what the producers want. If he calls it out and gets angry and does all these things, he's playing into a trope, the angry black guy, which he just said he doesn't want to play into. And he's playing into what the producers want, which is just added drama. So he's like, you know what? Peter's leaving. Who cares? So I totally understand that point of view. Totally do. And of course, Casey had posted that he hasn't walked in 4 months because he got injured on the show. So Casey posted, and he posted the x-ray. It was just brutal. So here he is, 3 broken bones, 3 operations, 4 months later, one sad guy. So maybe Casey's just been bedridden so long and he's got too much to think about here. But Casey's sharing his side of things. Andrew with a quick response. My guess is the beef hasn't ended. If you want the opposite of beef, go to patreon.com/Dave Neal and catch the live premiere of my wedding reception, which I'm going to be airing today at 10:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can join the chat room and talk to anyone else who's watching there. It's 33 minutes long. You can fast forward through the slow parts. My wife and I actually did an official ceremony. So we had the judge there. We signed our paperwork during the ceremony. We stamped our fingers. We did the whole thing. You can go watch it now there on Patreon. Or I'm sorry, at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Time, patreon.com/Dave Neal. More content coming your way. We'll talk to you guys in a little bit.